guys sounded. That was beautiful. One thing you can count on in a Unity church in November is hear that song. Thank you for this day, Spirit. It's a beautiful thing to hear, isn't it? Did it make you feel uplifted? Yeah. Other things we can count on is Costco's got pumpkin pie now. Starbucks has those pumpkin lattes. So there's certain things we can count on, which is a fun thing. As I was thinking about this talk, I was thinking about reflecting on gratitude in my own life. I didn't experience much gratitude or conscious, mindful gratitude growing up. My daddy always did what he called returning thanks before we ate supper, which is the evening meal. And the one thing I can remember him saying is about thank you for this food, that it may nourish our bodies. But other than that, I don't remember much. We didn't pray we didn't pray at breakfast. I didn't actually know that was prayer for a long time. The first time I began to understand and look at gratitude came from Oprah. She started teaching gratitude. And she started inviting people to do gratitude journals and say 3 things that we were grateful for every single day. So I decided to get on that bandwagon. So as I was preparing for this talk, I went and found my gratitude journal. 2001, started on January 1st. I lasted 9 days. Well, the next entry was 2 years later, 2003, January 1st. I only lasted 2 days. I'm not so good at gratitude, obviously. And then the third entry was 2005, so it was like an every other year thing for me. But what I have learned to do, and I actually started learning to do this with Gay and Katie Hendricks when I was a student of theirs and studying under them, was to engage in appreciation. And the first piece was self-appreciation, which is actually, Mindy and I adapted this, but that's where this came from, the Hendricks Institute, is the 30 days of self-appreciation. There's one in your bulletin, if not, there's some out there on that glass top table. Today's looks like this. I appreciate my body and especially mine. Let's say that together. Don't listen to your neighbor. And at the 3 dots, just say whatever comes about your body that you appreciate. So together, I appreciate my body and especially my eyes. Yesterday was a skill or a quality. That was a lot easier for me to appreciate a skill than to appreciate something about my physical body. What that tells me is that's my learning edge. So wherever you might, if you're choosing to do this, wherever you get kind of stepped up or where you get triggered by it, wherever you kind of feel like you're floundering, what a beautiful learning edge. And how beautiful that we have a learning edge. That we're still open to growing and expanding, and we're still here on this planet. Because when we no longer have a learning edge, we either kind of get a little dull and less shiny than you guys are and than we are, or you'll sort of shimmer off, and there won't be any need to be on this planet anymore. But how cool you're here, and that we get to talk about and play with gratitude for this month, and be thankful in more than just food, but thankful in all parts of our body. The Bible teaches us, or actually the writers of Thessalonica teaches us to give thanks in all circumstances. And then the Colossians shows how. Sing the psalms, compose hymns and songs inspired by the Spirit, and keep on singing. Sing to God from hearts full and spilling over with thankfulness. That's how you guys sounded this morning. With the gratitude song, with Celebrate Life, with Come On In, hearts full and spilling over with gratitude. Now, gratitude could be a lot of things. It's conceptualized in a lot of different ways, as an emotion, as an attitude, as a habit, as a perspective or a way of being. Gratitude is practiced by the Christians, by the Muslims, by the Jewish faith, by the Hindus, by the Buddhists. So gratitude is one of those things that across the board we know is a higher truth because so many people practice it and they have results from it. I know the result from my own experience because when I figured out I wasn't very good at writing down my gratitudes, I started learning how to speak them. It worked a lot better for me. I'm not so good at writing things down, but I can practice speaking them. And then I discovered that in relationships, when I spoke words of appreciation, my relationships started going so much better. It was amazing. You know, thank you for unloading the dishwasher. Thank you for making the bed. Thank you for cooking. You know, thank you for doing the dishes on the nights I cook. Thank you for, you know, the small things. And sometimes it's something like, thank you for folding up the bath mat and putting it on the edge of the tub so that, you know, it's put away. I mean, there's all kinds of small things that we can thank each other for or be appreciative of. And then there's the bigger things. Thank you for being willing to bring me my charger when I forgot it, my computer charger. Because I know it took time out of your day. So we can get bigger and bigger. Thank you for wanting to be in relationship with me. We can go global. Well, psychologists have, you know, psychologists, we're social scientists, so we like to make sure we can measure things. So psychologists have gotten on what I call the bandwagon of looking at research and gratitude as a component of research. So a guy named Robert Emmons and one of his buddies, Michael McCullough, decided they were going to compare undergraduate students. Undergraduate students, there's usually a lot of in the university system, so it's easy to do research with them because they usually have a certain amount of research projects they have to engage in the psych department. So what these two researchers, or social psychologists, did was they took a group of students, 265 of them, and they had one group that focused solely on gratitude, and the other group that focused solely on the different burdens of their life. And imagine what they found. The group that was focusing on gratitude, that group had better social skills. They felt better physically. They had this sense of expectancy and excitement in their life. They looked forward to life. And that same group of students were more likely to be of assistance and of service to other people. And they were more likely to listen and give emotional support. They wanted to be present for other people. That's a really neat thing to me. So what the social scientists are starting to see is that gratitude can be a way of living. It can be what would be called a perceptual set. So gratitude can be our come from, you know, our foundation and our point of consciousness. Eric Butterworth says it like this: what you experience will always depend on where you are in thought, in consciousness, in feeling, and in self-awareness. So knowing what our come from is, am I a complainer, or am I going to be contributing to something? Am I doing stinking thinking, or am I in an attitude of gratitude? What's my come from? And whatever my come from is going to make a difference in how I see the world, because our worldview begins to set up things. So there's a woman named Maria Nemeth. She wrote a book called Mastering Life's Energies. And part of what she talks about is how we get to know people is that we engage in this four-part process. She calls it the four-box model. The first one is we develop a conclusion about people when we meet them. The researchers say that within the first 30 seconds to 2 minutes, we've made a decision about somebody we've met new. And then once we've made that decision, it's almost like we put on a certain kind of blinders or sunglasses, and that's how we see people. And once we've drawn that conclusion, then we begin to collect evidence that that's the way it is. And then when we collect that evidence, we start to show up as somebody who believes that. And then from believing that, we begin to manifest others to show up as we believe them to be, but we think it's about them. You ever do that? So our minds are powerful, and our minds can sometimes get in a rut. We like to be analytical because that's the nature of much of the brain, is to analyze and to make decisions and to problem solve. So I want to play with you a little bit here. What do you see here? Yeah, it's a hallway. You want to walk down that hallway? Yeah. But it's really a straight hallway, like the one back in the UZ or the foyer. It's just been painted to look a little bit different. And so I'm not sure I'd want to have a drink or two and walk down that hallway. And I'm really not sure I want to do it in the middle of the night. And I'm really sure that I want to do it when I feel steady. Steady on my feet. Because I think, just looking at it, that I would want to sort of follow some of the lines. You know, so I might be like dancing down that hallway. But that's an illusion that our brains know how to create because we're looking for something a certain way. What do you see here? Female. A female. Is it a young woman or is it an older woman? Both. Both. Yeah, this is a very classic perceptual psychology thing. Some people have difficulty once they see the first one to see the second one, and different people see them differently. You know, some people see the older woman first, and some people see the younger woman first. Now, we won't do any projectors about that, what that means, but sometimes it's difficult to pass back and forth. What's this? It's a rabbit. Does anybody see a duck? Yeah. So here's what's happening. We see something a certain way, and we get in our minds that our way is the right way, and that is the fact. So those of us who see a rabbit, it is a rabbit will argue with people who see a duck, because it's really a duck. No, it is a rabbit. No, I see a duck and I know what I see. Is this familiar to anybody? Hey, wars are developed over some of this stuff. So here's another one for you. What do you see? A bulldog. Okay, I'm going to turn that bulldog upside down. What do you see? Yeah. It's a matter of perspective. So it's the evidence piece that Maria Nemeth is talking about in her 4-box model. If you thought that the evidence was that was a man, I think he looks like a little Super Mario. Yeah. That's what I think. If you think it's a man and somebody else thinks it's a bulldog, can you imagine the arguments you could have? Similar to the duck and the rabbit. But that's what we do. We draw a conclusion and we decide that that's the conclusion, and then we start to collect evidence about that conclusion until we mount a lot of evidence, and then we show up in the way that we think that evidence is going. And then we see other people, no matter what they're actually doing, quite often we see them show up as we think they're going to be. Have you ever felt like you'd made a mistake with somebody and you were approaching them and you were a little hesitant because you thought, oh, I messed up and so somebody's going to be a little upset with me, so I better approach, you know, like walking on eggshells. And they're like, oh, what's going on here? And so then they start walking on eggshells, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to unravel it. Well, let me tell you a story that fits this. There was a woman, her name was Jane, and she went to England. And she walks in a pub in England. She orders tea and a Kit Kat. Now, I've never been to England, so I don't know about tea and Kit Kats, but that's what she ordered. And this guy, this kind of larger guy, stranger to her, Englishman, sits down beside her, and he reaches over and he takes a piece of her Kit Kat and he eats it. And she's kind of looking at him like, hey, you're a man and you're eating my Kit Kat. Should I say anything or not? What should I do? And so she reaches over and she has a bite of Kit Kat, In a minute, he reaches over and he has to bite a Kit Kat, and then she has to bite a Kit Kat, and eventually the Kit Kat is gone. Well, they never said a word to each other. He orders a donut, shared his Kit Kat, or her Kit Kat, orders a donut, goes and sits by another woman. So she has now developed this conclusion in her mind. This is a guy who preys on women. He harasses women and he just takes their food. So she walks over, his donut's sitting on the table. So she walks over, picks up the donut, takes a big old bite of it, slams it down, and heads out the doorway. And she goes to catch the bus. And she opens her purse. Guess what? There was a Kit Kat. It was her Kit Kat. What amazes me is how I would feel. I would be so embarrassed. But that the man didn't say anything. He simply let her share his Kit Kat. And here she had all these assumptions about him, and he was actually being quite kind. I don't know, I might stick my fork in somebody's. It's like, hey, what are you taking my food for? I probably would say something. But he was very kind and generous. But she had made the conclusion that he was eating her food, and she did not recognize that he was eating his own food, and she was actually encroaching until she got out to the bus station. Now, we do this sometimes. It's part of our human nature. We see something, we start collecting evidence, we make up stories, and then we show up how we think our story's going, and we call that story fact. I have to say, I've done it. I wish I could say I've only done it a few times, but I honestly can't say that to you. But what I can say to you is Mother Teresa was having microphone trouble, sorry. Mother Teresa was having an interview. She was in an interview with a newspaper reporter. And he said, how do you do it? How do you work with so many people who have so much poverty, so much illness? And she said, what are you talking about? I see the Christ in everyone. That's how I do it. So this is what I think it would look like. This is Mother Teresa's 4-box model. She sees the Christ in everybody. So all people to Mother Teresa have value and worth. So she shows up as love. So how do you think other people are going to show up? They're going to show up as whole people because she's showing up as love. And she's showing up as love, and we know that love is a frequency, is that energy that emanates from our heart and wants the best for somebody. So we know that no matter how they actually show up, she's going to see them as whole and perfect and complete. Because that's what God's love does. That's how it works. And she says to people, or she used to say to people, you know, if you can't come down here and see the Christ in people and serve joyfully and know the wholeness of each person, no matter what appearances is, don't come. I don't really want you to come. Because you're bringing a different consciousness that I'm creating. Now, we can do the same thing with gratitude. I'm grateful for everything. If we make that conclusion in the very beginning, and I'm thinking of Snoopy and Charlie Brown sitting together on a dock, let's just be grateful for everything. Yeah, when we're grateful for everything, we're going to start looking for the good that is everywhere present, because it is. Because God is good and God is everywhere present, then good must be everywhere present. And when we start looking for that good, we're going to find it. We're going to have that positive outlook. And no matter what somebody tells us or what we see, we're going to say, I wonder what good is coming out of this. So when somebody's upset, I wonder what good is coming out of this. When somebody's joyous and excited, I wonder what more good is coming out of this, because we're practicing gratitude. And when we're showing up as grateful, it's amazing how other people show up in that same level and energy of gratitude. That's when we can have the moment in the grocery store where we have a conversation and a smile, and we may never see that person again in our lives, but it's a connection, and it's a heart-to-heart connection. That's the time where we may change somebody's life and never know it, because we were kind to them. Maybe we had a conversation, or maybe we paid it forward for them for gas or food or Starbucks or whatever you like to do. Or maybe you had it come back to you because you've paid it forward, somebody else paid it forward, and you're sitting in a restaurant and somebody sends you dessert or pays for your meal because you have a positive outlook. This stuff is powerful stuff, and we always get to choose. To me, that's the best thing. I always get to choose. I can choose to complain. I can choose to be a contributor. I can choose to blame, or I can choose to say, wow, I wonder what in me is seeking healing. The beautiful thing is I can't really do it wrong. And we get to choose. I learned how to blame. I can learn how to live without blame. I can learn how to simply say, oh, I wonder how I created that. I wonder how I created that. Wow, look what a powerful manifester I am that I created that. And look at all the different things I can create by being a powerful manifester. The moments of joy, the moments of connection, the moments where somebody spontaneously purchases something for me, the moments where somebody sits down and says, hey, I want to share a good book with you. There are so many moments available to us. And when we're coming from gratitude, when we're coming from love, when we're coming from joy, when we're coming from peace, we get to reap the benefits of that joy, love, peace, that harmony. Take a moment and think where you like to come from. We're all going to have good days and bad days. But the beautiful thing is no matter what kind of day we have, we can pick it up and do something different. And if you're open to living in gratitude, let's affirm this together. Together,
I choose to see the world through eyes of gratitude. I am willing to look for people, situations, and events to be thankful for in my life. I express my gratitude with ease.
In whatever way is your preferred way to express your gratitude, I invite you to do so. Do it often. Do it at least 3 times a day. Do it toward people, but do it toward things. I'm thankful for my car every day, and that car is steadfast. I'm thankful for music, and I get to hear beautiful music. I'm thankful for you guys. What a joy to come on a Sunday morning and see your smiling, radiant faces, and to know that you want to create a world that works for all, a world of compassion and joy, that you want to live in gratitude. Thank you for who and what you are. Minnie's going to come and she's going to lead us in a new song for meditation and then take us into meditation.